has expired. I call the member for Higgins.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. I rise today to talk about a topic which my electorate of Higgins cares deeply about: climate action. As a child growing up in the town of Albury in regional Victoria in the 1970s, climate change was not something we spoke about around the dinner table or at school or heard about in the news. Over the years, however, this has changed. My family are sixth-generation winemakers in Rutherglen. As viticulturalists, they know the seasons have changed. They know the seasons are altering due to climate change. The bushfire season of 2019-2020, known as Black Summer, has changed our minds forever. Now action on climate is at the forefront of many Australians, regardless of their age or where they live. Despite Melbourne being unfortunately recorded as the most locked-down city in the world due to the COVID-19 pandemic, climate action has remained a pressing matter for those in my electorate of Higgins. As I said in my first speech in this place, action on climate is not just an environmental imperative, it's an economic imperative. More than that, we now know it's an economic inevitability as the whole world pivots through a clean energy transition. Mr Deputy Speaker, the Morrison government does not make commitments unless we can deliver them. Accordingly, Australia has met each of its international commitments, whether it's Kyoto 1 or 2. In fact, we beat our Kyoto-era targets by more than 459 million tonnes. The current updated forecasts show Australia is on track to meet and beat our 2030 Paris targets. Australia's emissions are at their lowest levels since records began in 1990. Emissions in 2020 were more than 20% lower than in 2005. Australia is leading the world in per capita uptake of rooftop solar panels. This is something worth celebrating, in fact. Not every country has our record of delivery. Since 2005, Australia has reduced our emissions faster than Canada, Japan, New Zealand and the USA. And although this is something we can be all proud about, there is more work that must be done. Australia is now committed to net zero emissions by 2050. This is a momentous decision for our country. Make no mistake, Mr Deputy Speaker, this is a pivotal moment in the history of our energy. But, Mr Deputy Speaker, it's not enough to have a target. We need a plan. For real action on climate change, there is no quick solution, no silver bullet. We on this side recognise this. We do not make planless promises. Yesterday, the Prime Minister, along with the Minister for Industry, Energy and Emissions Reduction, released Australia's long-term emissions reduction plan to deliver net zero emissions by 2050. This plan sets out the way forward, aiming to establish Australia as a leader in low emissions technology through the creation of new markets, including hydrogen, carbon farming, as well as carbon capture technology and storage. The Morrison government is committed to investing in the next generation of energy technologies that will deliver lower emissions, lower costs and more jobs. The path to net zero is not a straight line. If you look at the recent COVID-19 pandemic, you can see leapfrogs in technology are the norm for R&D. Through technology and partnering with the free market and evaluating technology development so that Australia can lead the way with clean energy technology, we will provide and develop a market for Asia-Pacific, particularly for Japan in regards to hydrogen. I believe Australia is pivoting to a new position which is about leaning into a clean energy evolution. I'm proud that we are building jobs for our future, making sure we pivot off fossil fuels and onto a clean energy future, but this will take time and we need to bring the Australian public with us. During the COVID-19 pandemic, we saw Australian businesses adapt in ways that had not previously been thought possible. In the same way, we'll see the entrepreneurial spirit of Australian businesses find new ways to succeed in the transition to a net zero environment. These new or expanded markets will present new opportunities for Australia, both at home and with our important trading partners. Mr Deputy Speaker, the Morrison government is clear. It's no longer about if and when we should do something, it's now about the how we do it. The world has to focus on the how. Action on climate isn't too important, not only for now, but for the future of our children and those who follow. We do not believe in avoiding the topics of how to get there. These are difficult questions, difficult solutions. The world is grappling with them, and Australia is going forward with an authentic and honest conversation with the Australian public. Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker.